What is going on, guys? Welcome back to 4-0 Gaming, and today we're taking a look at fusion rifles, and more specifically, which ones we're going to be able to take into year 4, which ones are going to be the best to replace your Erentil, your Wiz and Rebuke, and what we should be looking for in the current sandbox. We did some testing. I have a really popular video that goes well into depth of how to play with fusion rifles, the stuff you should be looking for, and a lot of the things that changed with the Season of Dawn kind of nerf / change that fusion rifles got. So if you guys are looking for some really detailed stuff, I highly recommend checking that out as well. But today I just wanted to look at the options that we have going into year 4 season 12 and tell you guys what the best options are. So if this video helps you guys out, be sure to drop a like. We put a lot of time into these and we got a lot more coming, so be sure to subscribe. We'll see you guys on the wagon. Hit the bell and let's get into it. Alright guys, so the first thing I wanted to do was kind of come through and show you guys all of the fusion rifles that will still be usable when we move into year 4. This very small list of 8 fusion rifles will still be usable in season 12, and they will all be able to be leveled up to the max level. Some just for that season, others further on depending on which weapon we're looking at. But of those 8, only 3 of them, these 3 at the top, are actually high impact fusion rifles, meaning that they give the most damage, have the most range, but the longest charge time. But those are the optimal fusion rifles for Crucible. They supply the best chance of a one-hit kill, and that's really the optimal thing right now unless we see a big swing in the meta. So that's what we're going to be looking at today, and that's what we're going to be comparing to the Erentil. Of these 3 that you'll still be able to use, 1 is no longer obtainable, so you can no longer get Gallant charge. So unless you have a god roll of that one, I unfortunately did not. I kept like a kill clip one instead of one with tap the trigger. Not sure what I was thinking. Okay, so if you have one of these, cool. This is actually one of the best rolls. We'll just take a look at it real quick. And as you can see down here, it comes with swashbuckler, rangefinder, tap the trigger. Tap the trigger is my go-to, so that's kind of a good perk for this role if you have one. So that's a good thing to have if you do. If not, these are your 2 options that are left. The Elaltha FR4, which is kind of like Erentil's cousin that came out in Season of Dawn, and the Exile's Curse, which of course is from Trials. Now, of these 2, the Elaltha, who knows? The Elaltha is no longer available via grinding, really. It just drops in world drops. This is definitely what you're going to want to be looking for. And when you see the rules here, and you can see it just comes from everything. So Crucible, Vanguard packages, your clan engrams, all kinds of stuff. World drops, legend, just random engrams. So no way to really farm it, but just be on the lookout. And for this, obviously, we have Firmly Planted, which a lot of people like for sliding and getting a little more stability and accuracy out of their weapon. Quick Draw is obviously great. And over here, we've got Snapshot Sights, which is I would probably go with Backup Plan, get those quick swaps, especially if you pair that with Quick Draw. You're going to be able to pull it out, slay them out right quick. Surrounded, once again, you're not getting 3 people. Demolitionist is okay. So there's definitely some options that, will be good and some things to keep in mind as we do move forward. The Exile's Curse. So this is kind of your go-to, the most farmable thing, I would say. I mean, it still is random to get them out of Trials packages, but definitely would go for this if you can. This does have some great options. Elemental Capacitor is excellent, but only if you play on a Void subclass, which is kind of the little asterisk next to that. I'm a big Top Tree Dawnblade fan, so this isn't as useful for me because I don't really want to substitute my playstyle for a perk. But, if you do play Void and you're Invis Hunter, Bubble Titan, Void, Blink Warlock, then definitely give this a try. This is go-to right here. This is top of the tier meta. All right, next to that, Firmly Planted. Once again, the increased stability and accuracy on the slides is going to be very powerful, especially if you pair that with the stability right here. You're going to be lasering kids and would highly recommend that roll. No Distractions is also great with the less flinching. Always a great option. And aside from that, I guess you could take Celerity. I'm not the biggest Celerity fan, but I could see it being very useful in Trials, especially since it is on a special weapon and not your primary. This could actually go a long way, but it's kind of just a preference. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't go into Trials expecting to be 1v3, 1v2. I expect to win with the team. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Now, aside from the main perks, I just wanted to give a quick rundown on the different options we have here on the fuses. So Never go with liquid coils. It's a mistake. The added charge time is not worth a little bit of impact. Don't do it. Don't take it. Okay, I know Light GG says yes. Don't do it. Okay, what you're looking for is particle repeater or projection fuse. Okay, now once again, in the current meta, range is not the most predominant thing, which you'll see in the testing in a minute. But you know, definitely a good option here. And the particle repeater, also a good option. Probably the best in slot, I would say. You're looking for that stability. You're trying to land shots, as the range doesn't matter as much as hitting those shots from those ranges. Moving on to the barrel options, there's a couple good things here. Nothing's really wrong, I wouldn't say. You know, you can go fluted, you can go with small bore, you know, range and stability you're not going to go wrong with. Polygonal, once again, 10 stability, going to help you land those shots, also not a bad option. Down here, I don't think that chamber capacitor is a bad option either. Stability, recoil, and that's recoil direction. So that's not actually helping with your recoil like stability does. A lot of people think that, but that's actually your recoil direction, and it's going to help it not go to the sides as much. So, you know, if you feel like your gun is pulling to the left or pulling to the right, a little bit of recoil could be good for you for just -5 handling. It's not a terrible trade-off. You know, we got corkscrew rifling, range, handling, stability. None of these are really bad. I guess if you had to pick one, polygonal rifling or small bore. All right, so let's take a look at some of the testing we did. And the first thing I wanted to do was come in and look at the ranges and kind of see what we were working with compared to the Erentil. As you could see in that last clip, I was able to get a kill at 21 meters with the Erentil, but that was super inconsistent, kind of. Really just depended on the RNG of the bullet spread and if those were going to hit. So it's definitely not consistently at 21 meters. And I personally found that right around the 18 to 19 meter mark was where you could really start to see some consistency. So now that we have a baseline for Erentil, I want to take a look at some of the other high impacts that we discussed earlier. I did just want to put in a quick disclaimer, though, that these are all completely different roles with different perks and things like that. Obviously, these are not the best in slot God rolled counterparts compared to this Erentil, which is pretty much God roll. So just keep that in mind as we're going through. But I was pleasantly surprised with the results that I got, even though I was lacking some of the God roll perks. So the first one I tested was the Elaltha FR4, which is basically Erentil's cousin, and with no surprise, I saw a lot of the same exact results. Right around that 21 meter range, I was able to land a kill or two, but for the most part was not getting consistent kills, just like we saw in the Erentil. And when I moved up to the 18 to 19 meter range, that's when I started to see some more consistency. Now, I think this test goes a really long way in really just showing how little impact and range have to do in this sandbox right now. As you can see, the Elaltha that I was using has 21 less range and 5 less impact than the Erentil I was using. And yet, really, with all my testing, it really seems to be very, very equal to the Erentil that I was using. It doesn't really seem to see a substantial damage fall off or range fall off by not having that impact, not having that huge amount of range that everyone used to grind for and think was so important. And I think that just goes a long way to show that in the current meta, I've seen this in my auto rifle guides, all my other testing for other guns, range really is just not making a huge difference in the sandbox. You're only really seeing the difference of maybe a meter or so, and if you're not fighting within that 1 meter difference, you're not getting any benefits with the added range. Moving on, I tested out the Exile's Curse from Trials of Osiris and saw a lot of the same exact results. As you can see on screen, most of the bursts are not able to kill the target at the 20 to 21 meter range, but there is a few times where the RNG hits right and you are able to land the kill. Further proving that the range, again, is not that big of a deal, since this one also has varying range compared to the other two we've been testing. Now, a lot of you guys may be wondering, if the range doesn't matter and that's not a big deal, do we have to run high impacts? What about adaptives? What about precision? So I did test out both of those, and while the precision was still able to kill at relatively the same ranges, the hollow word did feel much less consistent and did take a lot more attempts to land those kills. As for the adaptive fusion rifles, I tried the Tekun Force, which has a decent roll on it, and it was terrible. The range falls off drastically compared to precision and the high impact, and I was not able to get kills any kind of distance, and especially when there's other shotguns that are really, really strong right now, such as the Chaperone or the Fellwinter's Lie, you're going to be really outgunned at those ranges. So once we know that all of the high impacts have about the same range of 20 meters, the biggest thing becomes the consistency at which you can land those shots. The most important thing is to try and limit all of the RNG factors that affect the spread of your burst. The more that you can control the burst of the fusion rifle, the more that you'll be able to land those shots consistently, especially at ranges where that burst can really shell out on a wide spread. So I tested the same 3 fusion rifles, and they all have roughly the same stability. The Exile's curse is a little bit high, about 10 over the other 2. And I didn't see huge differences, just flat out, right? Just what I could find in real world testing. Obviously, it's really hard to test stability with a fusion rifle because, the RNG factor does come into play. But where I did see big differences just right off the bat was when I was using different perks, such as tap the trigger or firmly planted. As you're seeing right now on screen, I have an Exile's Curse with firmly planted, and the recoil is all over the place right now without crouching. Now take a look at this footage where I simply crouch and use the firmly planted, and you'll see it's almost a straight vertical line on each shot, really tightening up that spread and giving me a much better chance of landing my shots. Tap the trigger takes it another step further and is even better. As you can see here on the Erentil, the tap the trigger shots are much closer together and a much tighter burst compared to the Ethereal, even though the Erentil has less stability and a worse recoil direction. And while it is very difficult, if not impossible, to test accuracy in-game, we can only assume based on the math and science that has been done outside of the game that these perks like tap the trigger and firmly planted will only further help you land shots more consistently when used in real gameplay. So yeah guys, that's pretty much the full rundown on the best fusion rifles as we go into year 4, season 12. Be on the lookout for firmly planted, elemental capacitor, no distractions, good perks like that are really going to help give you an advantage as we move into year 4, and hopefully we'll get a brand new high impact fusion rifle that will take the world by storm. Give me another Erentil, you know what I'm saying? And be sure to subscribe guys, because the second one of those comes out, the second we find it, we're going to put the full video out. We'll be covering all of the new changes as we move into the fall, the rest of this season, and into 2021. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like, subscribe for more. We'll see you next time on the wagon.